Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mkondisi Mkalipi. Yeah, we are here for another episode of Black Magnificent Show. Yeah, tonight I'm not alone. Again, as you know, I have my guest speaker, Mr. Voyo Mbongo. Sir, can you greet everyone?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the audience and everyone who's tuning in. Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Ngunzi, and hopefully we will have a great show tonight.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a great show. And yeah, abantu babuye emasontweni, some are busy on their assignment. But yeah, in this hour, 30 minutes, let's try to discuss this topic, which says unlearning toxic behavior in the Black community. It's all known and everyone knows that the biggest enemy of a black man is a black man. So we try to deal with those things because they are very internal and they are things that affect us and they hinder the progress within the black community. So, Mr. Mbonga, what can be the nameable issue or the major issues or the toxic behavior that you can point out that are really, really in our ways?
There's a lot of things going on currently in our communities. We have crime, we have gender-based violence, we have hate amongst others, as you mentioned, we have businesses that are black owned that we don't support. There's a lot of things that are going on, and I think we really very important for us as a developing nation to address this issue that we face daily, because one of the things that we think we're not prepared for is democracy. Democracy brought a lot of new things that sounded like freedom to us, but I don't think we were prepared enough to actually deal with some of the responsibilities that come with democracy.
Very important. You want me to fast forward? We'll get to the democracy parts. But we all know that before, I think Black Nation was once maybe a good place and it was a good community, but somewhere around the point there were things that were introduced, namely or historically. Do you have an explanation how this behavior got into the community, sir?
Yeah, the biggest toxicness that we have actually adopted as black people is hate amongst each other. The system, as much as our history has taught us to actually hate each other, not work together, compete with one another, instead of unity. The sense of Ubuntu abantu has lost us. The sense of Ubuntu community where we have departed and left that scenario we live in. Now it's every man for themselves, and they create in our community. There's a lot of drugs that are involved in our community that are killing our youth, young people. When you go deeper, you'll find drugs are sold by the politician that we look up to. They're sold by the people that are supposed to be bringing up the solutions in our that they want that is doing it more. So that is we actually adopted. The sense of we want to reach or we want to be better. The sense of better in our life. Somehow we have adopted things that actually are not going with our morals as blacks. And as much as I said that democracy has brought in certain things that now we need to learn on how to live with them. Our people so oppressed to a very long time. Now that we can say we are no longer oppressed, apartheid area, there are certain things that now comes with that. And we haven't really been smart enough to actually talk about them, because there's a lot of things that are out there, the media, sexual immorality. There's a lot of things that are brought in our face in our communities, and no one has prepared us to actually deal with them.
We did an orientation for this thing, but anyways, we are in the midst of it. So, is there any history? Is there some way how history contributed in this dilemma that we are in currently?
Yeah, 1652 contributed to to the issue that we are facing today. We are dealing with the consequences of the past. How communities, as much as we are talking about toxicness in communities, we need to first describe how communities were created. Communities were created in a manner of dependence. Not everyone in the community was supposed to depend on someone. That is why we are staying in yards that are 15 by 15 meters. You can't plant, you can't do anything. We are there where you need to depend. You need to depend on someone for all your food. You need to depend on someone for everything, basically. Because how communities came upon is that white will steal companies, or they will steal mines and farms, and then people will come closer to it because people were taken. Hence, since when it started long ago, it used to be hostels. White people used to go and take people from black men from the rural areas, put them in hostels, and then where they can work closely. And then until a point where women were said, no, we are tired of staying in rural area, let's go and stay with our men. And then that's how communities started, basically. So it started on dependency. When white guys were taking our fathers to come to community, they were taking them to come and depend on us. So this is one issue where we don't own. The lack of ownership creates havoc. Basically, black people, we don't own anything even in our communities now. There's a very few things that we can name and say these ones are owned by us, black people.
True. Hey, yeah, it's a very critical issue. So yeah, that being said, that we moved to these areas, trying to look for a job or trying to get closer to our workplace. Then we created a community which was made out of family, made out of school, and the neighborhood as a whole. Can we conclude on this matter that it is the neighborhood, the family, or the school that will learn this toxic behavior, or it's mostly the white man who intended or imposed these things on us?
I can say both. The white man is the result of what we are seeing today. The white men, even at work, they teaches us to hate each other. When they see that we are at peace, when they see that we are taking people and species and Zulus want to, they take few people, give them a salary so that they can be on the other part. So they are system only works on divide and conquer. The only way white man wins is the divide and conquer mentality, because they are united against. And so basically now in our community, we still come back with the mentality of oppression, the mentality of hating each other, of not even now you cannot even correct your neighbor's child when you see them doing something wrong in the street. So even the problem now is that even the grooming of children, it's unfit people that are grooming children. It's parents that are not even ready to be parents that are grooming children. I always say, and people don't like me for saying this, but I always say a parent that doesn't know God is not fit to raise a child, because what manual are you using to raise a child?
From what basis?
Yes, because if we can say no, but culture is fine. Yes, culture is fine, but there's a lot of immorality in culture. There's a lot of young children in culture that were forced to get married. It's cultural. So there are certain things that even in our lovely culture that we love, we need to get rid of them because they are toxic, and then they come back and influences the community that we now living in. I'm not sure if I've answered you very well.
No, it's answered very well, but it's in a kind of confusing manner. Not that you answered in a confusing way, but the way you structured it, you said they made us to be together, and when we were together, they taught us to fight against each other by dividing us into clusters, Zulus, and what, and then we don't see each other as brothers.
All the borders that we see in Africa, immediately when you speak a language that sound the same as mine, I see you as an enemy. I see you as, right now we have a lot of people from Somalia and stuff that are having tuck shops in every corner of our community. We don't see them as brothers, but we see some people from Netherlands, as far as Greek, as far as and we see them as our brothers. We look up to them. So there's in the disposition when a white man was stealing from us, they managed a way to not look at them as an enemy as well, to look at each other as an enemy. So we look at poverty as it like is caused by another black person. We are not courageous enough to say, no, who stole our minerals, who stole our land, who stole our farms, who stole, that's an enemy, you know, because now it's
for nothing.
Exactly, we are fighting it because there's a little piece, you know. If you are a sellout, you get a price for it. So certain people are selling out because they are trying to survive. So we look at it's a very huge issue that needs to be dissolved, and we need to rebuild. Unfortunately, the rebuilding structure will not be easy because one problem that is there now, we are trying to solve a problem in a very easiest way. It didn't take 10 years for whites to actually colonize us. It didn't take 3 years for them to colonize. It took years. It took 500 years of slavery for them to win this system. But how we want to deal with it is a shortcut of dealing with the actual matter.
We are taking it from the top. We are taking it from the top. And it has deep roots. Yeah, to pass on, it's something you mentioned earlier that we can all agree that the people who grew earlier before who were colonized before everything came about were better in character than the one that we have now. So some speculations have predicted that the democracy must have been very contradicting with Ubuntu. And yeah, it's a speculation because in Ubuntu they will tell you it takes a community to raise an African kid. Then in democracy they will tell you everyone has their rights on how to rule themselves and they take decision among themselves. What do you say about this?
It's actually very fun and contradictory. There's nothing wrong with democracy. There's nothing wrong with democracy. Why is the divorce rate very high currently? The only answer is that the divorce rate is high in South Africa now because South African women are more independent currently. In the democratic system, it allows women to have the same rights, same salary, same jobs as where it was not there. So it's positivity of democracy saying, no, everyone must be equal, but the positivity also comes with the consequence. That's why I mean, that is what we need to engage and learn on and unlearn. Because as much as we are saying we are unlearning, the only way you can unlearn something is to learn something new. That is actually opposite to what you know. So basically, yes. So basically, when it comes to democracy, it has brought on a lot of things that we have accepted, but some of them we are not ready for. As much as I've made example with the divorce rate, back then our parents, our moms, they told because they were depending on the men. Men will go to Joburg, cheat, have a lot of comeback with diseases, but women will still be dependent on them because that's what the system told them. Now that they are free in the democratic, they can make a choice. They can say, no, it looks like this democracy is so bad. It's not as bad. It's us getting something that we're actually not ready for. It's us getting a picture because this democracy as well, it's a picture. It's not actually the reality of freedom. Freedom is land. Freedom is mineral resources. Freedom is ownership. As Black people, we do not own anything in this democracy. We are still trying to look like we are there.
I know. No, but I wanted you to go on into it. You said we are not ready for it. Yeah, can you please dwell on that a bit?
Okay. As much as we spoke about love, you know, that's one thing that now we don't have. Remember, the generation of apartheid generation and back then, they had a mission. They were united because of a mission. Sometimes it's difficult to teach people to love each other if we don't have a mission. You know, sometimes I don't really need to love you, but I need to hold you and go somewhere because I have a mission that we need to accomplish. And they knew what they needed to defeat a system that was actually oppressing them. They needed to defeat. They did a lot of things united together. We cannot say really they were loving each other or go deeper to that, but they were united. Currently, we are not united. That is why there's a lot of things that are coming in with this democracy, which are children are not supposed to be touched. Now at school, they have all the rights, which is a good thing. But are we ready? Are we mentally ready for it? Now the consequences of that now comes to vulgar, comes to immorality, comes to a lot of things that now brings this freedom. Same-sex marriage. There's nothing wrong with same-sex marriage. I would say that. But now, the more how we now accept it, we need to deal with it. Because now we are a confused generation that are trying to accept everything and be cool. But in coolness, there are consequences that must be dealt with. So that is why I won't say what I don't like about the democracy is the lie that has been fed to us, saying we are free. We are free from what if we don't own? South Africa, for example, I'll make South Africa, for example, South Africa has a lot of coal mines, but we are experiencing load shedding. Electricity is expensive, but we have coal. Why are we? Who are we buying coal for? How can a mine company say we own this coal in Witbank? They own it. Who gives you the power to own something in a country, and then the whole people must buy that from you? So the whole sense of democracy was to make us think we are free, but no ownership. There's no democracy in ownership if there's no ownership that comes with that. So yes, when it comes to communities, the same democracy we are speaking about says it is right for a 12-year-old child to abort without the knowledge of their father, of their parents, sorry. Isn't that a statutory rape? Who slept with this 12-year-old? Let's start there, because sleeping with someone under the age of 16, 17, that is rape. So who slept? Are we even, if the parents don't know, then how are we going to go back and research? No, maybe she was abused at school, or maybe there's an old guy or mupimal, and then she's using that to their advantage. So there's a lot of things in that we are accepting, but we are not really saying, no, let's study these things. Let's come up with firm things that are going to build. Hence now it's even difficult to kuza umntana kwamakhelane, as I said, because gibo uyakwazi ukuthukuma makhatha mama forward. When umuza athi futhi yakhe estradini nomntwana, and then you wanna khuza ufuna ukumshaya, already you'll be arrested for that, because already endlini inkinga nakhona iqale khona. Yes, hence I said a parent that is doesn't know God is not fit to raise a child. But let's continue. I don't want to go deep on that. People will tend not to hear what I'm actually saying.
It's a very sensitive issue, because you find the man not being able to enforce his rules on the growing of his own kid. He can't even have umthetho. Indoda isakwazi ukuba nomthetho kwayo.
Umthetho is crime, apparently. Umthetho is crime.
Hey, it's a problem. Being black is expensive on its own. Here is another issue, sir. This issue of money, this issue is a problem, because you find black people, they are given a chance, they are having businesses, they are getting into job, but we do not see their money. Some of them, they start working, all their money is into debt. Some of them, it's into alcohol, it's into many things. But their life is not improving. What is actually happening in our community? Are we even allergic to this man? What's happening, leadership?
Apology with that, my leader. I've got flu, so I'm taking some flu meds here, and I'm trying not to sweat. The real issue, my brother, I will say, we actually still have the oppression mentality with us. That is why the few that are privileged to get to work in institutions that pays them better, the first thing they think of is to run away from the hood. If someone goes to university and get a degree, and now they say, no, we want to buy a house somewhere in Sentin and stuff. Number one, there's a knowledge that has been lost. Your struggle that made you to manage to go to university, pass, get your degree, hustle and stuff, it's lost. Some child, won't know. So now the remaining people in our communities now, it's the same people that we are not supposed to be learning from. It's the gangsters, it's everyone that does the wrong things, but we are looking up to them, because the ones that have done the right way have went out and say, no, we are leaving the community. So when you go and stay in Sentin, for example, your neighbor is fine and your other neighbor is fine. Your knowledge is useless to that place. They don't need to know that you're an engineer or you're an accountant, whatever. But with that, one accountant in a community, in a street, it inspires 10 more children to say, I want to be like that sister, or I want to be like that brother. So when it comes to money, I think we are not really taught enough. We are using money from an operation point of view, where we want to brag to one another, where we want to look cool to one another, We don't build. There's nothing that we are building as a community now. Let's take operation and everything aside for now. Let's say, okay, with the little that we have, what are we doing? People play stock fields where at the end of the year they share alcohol. You find about 20 different bottles of alcohol they share. Yes, we worked hard. Imagine. So it shows that we don't know what to do with this money.
Drunkenness.
Basically, where if we can have about 15 or 20 young people that can take 2,000 each, how much is that? If we are taking 20 and 2,000 each per month, how much is that? Very few years we can be developing, building our communities. So we need to teach each other with this thing. When you have been too hungry, and then they give you bread, you will compliment, say, this is the best bread I've ever ate, because you've been too hungry. That's one of the problems. Operation has brought us to a point where we were too hungry and we were too desperate, to a point now that whatever that comes in, we want to use it and show off. You will find very guys that are politically connected or whatever and having serious cash. But look what they do to the communities. They do nothing. The only thing they will do, they will come and pick up young children and convert them to slave queens and teach them that, no, don't need to go to school. If I give you this much money, you will be fine. Instead of, let me invest in this young person's lady or in this young child and say,
make something better.
Yes, go buy 3 cars where you will use them as Uber or whatever. So it's a very difficult thing, because people that there is money in the community, but it's not well used. That's another problem. It's not really well invested. Yes, it's very difficult because we lack land, we lack space. Even to get a piece of land where you can work on it, it's hard. But you will be shocked that we have a lot of foreign nationals coming to South Africa. Sorry to use the term foreign nationals, but yeah, it's for the sake of this interview. They come to South Africa and establish business. And then we end up being jealous and say, how? It's because they've learned the essence of working together to build something. The only thing we had is that my dad, the only thing we left to brag about is that my dad used to work at Eskom, or my dad used to work at Pras or somewhere. There is no legacy. It's that man that is going to leave, and then that's going to leave when he passed on. We eat, but he didn't leave any tangible thing that we can build on. So we need to the little that we have, let's take it together. Let's have a black bank. Let's have a community bank, not just saving money for December to buy groceries. No, let's save money to build our community from scratch. Let's start businesses that are as a fair, but there's no fair of owning one's business. It's possible, but because of still hating each other and not really liking when your friends succeed, we need to get through that path and move forward.
It's a very serious issue. It's a very serious issue. I want to squeeze this one here because I was not going to ask it, but it just came now. The issue of social media. I think even social media has impacted us in a very bad manner. The way people feel pressure, it's very dismal. It's very, very at maximum. The way people pressure at seeing other people doing things, they end up getting into mistake, and some others are even lying about it.
True.
This social media is not good for us, man.
Same as there's good in democracy and bad in it. It's the same thing as social media, because social media, we cannot really take it out and say it's bad. With my phone, I can research, I can study, I can get a degree without even moving in my room. I can get knowledge, I can develop, I can create, I can do a lot of things with just having a phone that has social media access. If I can just put it straight, the internet. But the worst that comes in it now is the false life that people post there, where now young people wanna take shortcuts, where young people now wanna join a lot of easy things, scam things where they can just get money quickly. Where young people where young ladies go into sexual relationships just for the exchange of money. It's influenced by the social media. Now you have your OnlyFans accounts. There's a lot of things that are happening where it's just pure prostitution that comes with this social media. So it comes with negative and positive. But what we adopt from it then is it's what is more important. We cannot just say no, Facebook is useless, or we need to cut Twitter. With Twitter, your business can go type and we are actually cut alone because of just posting there. But the same thing there's toxicity in it, there's a lot of things that are nonsensical in it, where now depends on how we are groomed or what we want to like. We mind what we say. If you're unstable, if you're not sure, we will easily hooked in other nonsense things that with social media.
Yeah. In English, they say every dark cloud has its own silver lining. So, yeah, we can't really cancel it out. We come to the issue of neocolonialism. It sounds like a more complicated term to those who are listening, but it's a very simple term. It just means the post or the effects that apartheid left in us, in our community. You know, those things whenever a white man comes, you're in a line, you just feel like giving them space to be in front of you. It happens. Yeah, that's neocolonialism. But in this context, I want to ask, Kuti, since this effects of apartheid or neocolonialism, they left us to even think that some parts of the economy are not parts that we should participate in. You don't find most of black participating in mining. You don't find blacks in farming. You don't find them in other lead roles because they still consider them as things for white. It's not for everyone. So how can we deal with this?
We need, number one, I think we need to be realistic and say what have we achieved, or what have we got from the whole freedom that we are now speaking of. You know, if we don't own land, if we don't own mines, if we don't own farms, if we don't own anything, then we should really redefine what is freedom. What are we free from? You know, what I always say for me, the best path I think we should take is for Africa to actually sanction itself from the rest of the world. Send every white man back to where they come from. This sounds crazy, I know. And then let's build Africa on our own. Let's give ourselves 50 years as Africans, then 50 years and say we are sanctioning ourselves. We don't want to trade with anyone but Africans, you know, because we need to know this gold we are talking about, these minerals, these mines, these farms, can we really go back to the old and come up with something out of it? There's no car that has ever been manufactured in Africa. We buy all those things and then we just come here and combine parts. So we need to own our own resources and then let's do something out of it. It starts as a mineral and stone to that's what we need to equip ourselves for. It's not an easy thing unless we still gonna lie about this democracy. We're gonna be owned. If we own it, so basically then to remove the dependence on we depend on China, we depend on America, we depend on European countries. No, let's depend on ourselves. Let's build. Zimbabwe is still sanctioned by some of the European countries like US and stuff. Why is it still saying if let's in ourselves over we can we want to be on our own. Someone would say, no, that we are living in the 2000s now, it won't happen. But we need to rebuild as Africans, because from now we are just dreaming. Yeah, we are living in a dream, basically. It's all a dream for us. Basically, you can other people owning some minds and company owning South Africa. We call that freedom. How is it possible? you know.
It's an abomination.
So we need to humble ourselves and say, yes, we've been scammed, and now we want to take this part of working together as Africans only and see that can we do something our alone, because somehow there'll really be less progress in this manner that we are gonna start. Okay, we want to win SOEs, we want to get all this. It's gonna take time. Let's just take everything that we own and stay with it and build it. But I believe it's the method that can work.
Yeah, it's a factor. But you know what's the worst part,
Yes.
Mr. Mbongo? The biggest issue here is that a lot of black people don't even think we deserve this land. A lot of black people don't even think we deserve this mine. They will ask you, what will you do with it? So I don't even think these black people, they want this land. So I think the biggest thing or the biggest challenge is that we need to convince our mentality that no, we can do something with this land, because if we don't believe we can, there's nothing we really can do.
We need to learn. We need to learn so that we can unlearn certain things. That mentality of people asking, what are we going to do with the land? Can you farm? It's an oppression mentality. It comes from an oppressed mind, you know, where that mind still needs to be emancipated from such thoughts. You understand? That mind needs to be taught about how Africa was before a white man came here. That mind needs to be taught that the first mathematician came from Africa. The first university came from Africa. So if we're going to ask such questions, what are we going to do with the land? What were we doing with the land before a white man came here? You know, so that one needs to be this thing that I want us to define: intellectual growth. It says intellectual growth is the ability to apply knowledge for the better of others, basically. So if we understand that the next person is more important as you are, you will understand the value of land. You will understand the value of growing together. You understand the value of working, and you will understand the value of ownership. You know, people in managerial positions at work where they feel now they are more white. You know, the more a black person gets money, the more they want to be white. They do their best. Some even bleach their skin to try and be white. It shows that no, this is an oppression mentality. Unfortunately, the intellectual growth that I'm talking about, you won't learn it in university, you won't learn it in schools. It's something that you need programs like the one that we're having at as Black Child, but the programs must be effective and teach people what is the right thing, basically. And that's we need to understand that even the education system that it's trying to take you away from being a black person, it forces you to be white. You understand? It forces you to twang when you speak, to change your. It forces you to do a lot of things that are actually not necessary for you, and leave the most important thing of understanding where we come from, and where we are going as black.
We want to be white in our black bodies. Hey, this thing is a big it's a very big yeah. But while we are in colonialism, it is true that the way the system is structured is very much oppressive, because what they've done to us, they've opened a channel for us to be civil workers. We are all running to finish matric. After matric, we want to go to varsity. After varsity, we go to compete in the work field, and since it's one field that opened for us, it has a big volume of people competing over small job opportunities which are in one field. They're not teaching us to go into business in other direction. So we might blame the system, but whilst we are blaming it, what can be said to black people to see the other parts of the world, that no, it's much bigger than the university. Being a speaker is enough. If you can speak, you can make money. Being able to fix things with your hands is enough. You can be able to use your skill. You can be able to do your things. But we are busy trying to fight for degrees that will make us not get jobs at the end of the day.
We need to unlearn the toxicness, number one. That's number one. The toxicness, even some of it that we learn from universities, you know, we need to learn a lot of things that there's certain to learn, not even know that you are learning. But answer your question, number one, I will say we need to understand the value of ownership. the value of ownership,
Mm.
to own something. We need to teach. I don't know how we can do this in a very quick rate, because our people are not really realizing the importance of this. If you go to China Mall, for example, there's a lot of China cities, China Mall, and everything in our country. When you go there, you will find a lot of different items that you need or that we need daily that these guys are selling them. We buy those things and use them in our homes, or we buy those things sometimes and actually sell it. Others buy to sell and stuff. But do we ask yourself how these things was made, or who made it? That's why I'm saying we need to understand the value of ownership. We need to know that we need to create something. You need to develop. You need to work the land so that the land will give you crops. The crops will sustain you and your community. We need to understand the value of that, because we are living in a less. We don't own anything. That is why it's easy for us to fluctuate to any direction that is not true. It's even difficult now to even teach this of ownership to young children, because children, they use all these devices, there's all a nice choice, but they don't know. Preschools, primary, they doesn't even teach them how is this thing made, basically. So we need to go back to the value of ownership. And so that is why I always say Africans must be locked in one room, all of them, and without depending on anyone, and teach each other to survive, to create. You can. So as much as I said, my brother, we need to really work on trying to be producers, on trying to be manufacturers, more than trying to be just semi-skilled people where something gets here, just fix it, put this part and take it to someone else. So we really need to accept the situation that we are on and say, no, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's fix 1, 2, 3. Because now one of the biggest problems now, whenever people fight about the injustice, it's now the middle class black that will fight the oppressed blacks. Because the middle class blacks now, they are trying to protect their compatibility. So that's where another problem comes in now. It's still a race where people still compete with one another instead of looking at the bigger picture and say middle class or lower class, we're all oppressed. Let's face the reality and fight together.
Yeah, Ash, we are next to the close. It's a sensitive issue. I want us to put as we are about to reach our conclusion. Competition and jealousy in the black community. Black community is another issue. You find that you're working somewhere, there's a job opportunity. You cannot tell your neighbors, you cannot tell the people you know, or people you know that they can qualify, because once you tell them, their life will be better. Competition, or you are in a municipality, you are getting tenders, you want to finish the man, you don't want even to produce the simple mere tender you were given. So jealousy, greed, and competition are the greatest thing in the black community. And we can say that's where the black man is a big enemy of a black man, because you can't tell him, there's a job opportunity, put your CV, I am in the selecting panel, put in, I can see what I can do. Black people want to do it for money. which is an issue. Say, what can we say about this, or what can you advise the black people? Because we all know you have been emphasizing the unity, but that's where we are really lacking.
My brother, if you can take, for an example, 10 rats, and then you put those rats in a box and you don't give them food. The first day they will try to get out of the box. They will move, they will try to eat the box so that they can get out of it. But if they see they are failing to get out of that box, the second day they will start eating each other. To survive, basically. So that's how we need in one place, and we have been air to break to survive. That is why I'm saying we don't own. Even companies that are nearby us are still not owned by us. So now this is what the system wants. The system wants us to eat each other. People are greedy because they want to survive, basically. Greed comes from a state of surviving, Jealousy comes from, okay. So basically what is happening, we are so squashed in one place and we cannot work each other because we are suffocating each other. No, there's not even room to breathe. So this is why the communities are like this. I think we need to understand why communities are like this, or why we are structured the way we are in these 4 rooms, RTP houses, no yard, no nothing, no space. We need to actually define why are we like that first. After we define that, then we can now come up with solutions. We can say, no, this is not right. But now we are taking the source at top now. We are trying to discuss the topic. People hate each other. They like to see each other suffer. Yes, they like that because it's the consequence of where we are. So we need to accept where we are. The first solution to say, no, gents, we are oppressed. We don't need any president. We don't need any ANC to lie to us and say we are free. No, we need to accept, no, we are oppressed. Therefore, what we need to do to get out of this oppression? Who said we are free? When they said we were free in 94 and 90, why did we accept that? What defines that freedom? You know. So we need to actually say, no, we are, because we will not stop hating each other. We will not stop not putting each other down. If you have a position at work, then you want to come back. You know, it's so sad that when a black person gets a managerial position, basically, a black South African, when they get a managerial position at work, they come back to the hood and brag about it. Give a Zimbabwean or someone from outside of South Africa that same managerial position. He will go back home and take 50 people to employ in that company. That's the difference. See, now we come back a car and buy a car or a brag. You know, it's because we haven't understood that we are oppressed. The people saying they understand that they are oppressed and they need to survive. Hence, they work together. You know, the Somalian strap that are striving today in every corner of Africa is not because they are smarter than us or stuff. They understand their oppression and they need to work together to get out of it. So this is one thing that we need to do as a community, understand who the enemy is. A lot of people don't know who the enemy is. If you can ask who's the enemy of black people, they say, leave white people are not here. Where was I going to be working? Hey, white people are smart. You know, so we need to understand. we need to teach each other so that we can laugh. We need to love yourself as you love your neighbor. That's what the scripture says. Love your neighbor so as you love yourself. We need to love each other. But to love each other, it can only happen with a mission and know where we are going.
I just don't want to run you from where you are. I just want you to send direct message to a black man out there. In closing words, can you send a message to a black man wherever they are in South Africa or from wherever they are listening to this show?
Brothers and sisters, my African brothers, we need to remember we are powerful. We are oppressed or we are suffering like this because we are powerful. Let's come back to the drawing board. Let's love each other. Let's support each other. Let's forcefully love each other. We need to forcefully protect black, protecting each black. You know, we need to come back to one room and say, guys, we've been oppressed for so long. We've been taught to hate each other for so long. We've been taught to be enemies. Let's take away all these things and say we are gonna work together to better Africa. Let's love one another and let's build. It's possible, and we are the generation, honestly, that is gonna get out of this oppression of that we are currently facing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mbonga. What a conversation we had today. If you want to do a summary that Mr. Mbonga gave us, he asked us, what are we free from if we don't own anything? As soon as we start accepting, as soon we'll start learning. So if we don't accept that we are not really free, we are not ready to learn. So this has been a show, Mr. Mbonga. Thank you very much. It has been a challenging to have this show. He knows very much where load shedding has been fighting us left, right, and center. But we thank you for having us, for being here, for having you in the show. And thank you to everyone who's listening. And thank to the technical team. This is the end of the show. I think we'll meet next time or next week, same time, Black Magnificent Show. Thank you.
Mr.